Hello everyone, Vegas Vic 1965. This week's video we're looking at the Villager Tips and Tricks Part 3, and we'll go over 6 things that should help you in the Minecraft world. Now I'm going to cover both Bedrock and Java, so stick around. And without further ado, let's find out. Welcome back everyone, Vegas Vic 1965, and we might as well get started. And I guess the first one is probably the easiest one, and that is, as far as the beds go, I've had a number of people ask me about this, and I want to make sure I mention this, because I may not have mentioned it in my past tips and tricks videos when you're breeding, and that is to make sure you have 2 blocks of airspace above. Otherwise, these villagers will not breed, or if they do, you'll end up getting angry particles. So you cannot have something like this, or you cannot have something like this over the beds, and the reason for that is the devs set it up to where the baby villagers will jump on the beds, and if you have a slab here, then the baby villagers cannot jump on it, and that'll make it invalid, and you will not be able to have any breeding happening. Now, as far as breeding goes, you have 2 villagers here and you start tossing them food to breed, and you only have 2 beds, you are not going to get any more villagers. Since 1.14, we need more beds if you want more villagers. So for every bed, you'll get a villager. So if we have 2 villagers here now and we have 3 beds, then if we toss these guys some food, we will get 1 more villager, 1 baby villager. Just remember, there must be 2 blocks of airspace above that. Now a torch is obviously not going to count. When it comes to breeding your villagers, there's really 4 types of food that you can give them, and that's going to be bread, it's going to be carrots, or potatoes, or beetroot. Now with beetroot, you'll have some trouble with it when it comes to the farmer, so I do not recommend using beetroot. When it comes to bread, now you'll see I have 6 in there. You really only need 3, but this is per villager. So if you've seen any other videos, or if you looked it up on the wiki and you've seen that they only need 12, well, that's per villager. So you want to make sure that you give your villagers, and I prefer using bread because it's a lot easier. And if you have a farmer, you can have a farmer that has a trade for bread to make it a lot easier, so you don't have to go out and harvest the wheat. Just buy the bread from him with emeralds. At any rate, it only takes 3 bread to breed. Now again, you need 3 for him, or 3 for this villager, 3 for that villager, or you'd need 12 carrots or 12 potatoes for each one. So what I would do is just toss them 3 bread, and we might as well toss them the other one as well, and they will start breeding. Now if you happen to toss, if one of the villagers picks up all the bread, it's no big deal. If you toss 6 bread down and there's 2 villagers in there and one of them picks them all, they will share. He'll split it in half, and then the other one, then you'll start seeing the breeding action happen. And as long as you don't have anything like I mentioned with the beds earlier, that there's nothing blocking it, you will get another villager. Now, as far as willingness goes, it's now over, and in order for them to breed again, you're going to have to go ahead and give them more food. So, if you had something like this and you tossed in maybe a stack of bread or half a stack of bread, you can easily fill this room up. The important thing to remember here is these guys do not have to have professions. As a matter of fact, if they do have professions, then during the day, breeding will stop for these guys. So just remember that as a little trick or tip, that you're better off breeding either a couple nitwits or breeding unemployed villagers. That way they can breed throughout the day, several times as a matter of fact. So just toss them the food that they need, whatever food you like to use. Like I said, my preferred choice is bread because it only takes 3 per villager, and then off you go. Okay, the next tip or trick that we're going to go over is going to be regarding the movement of villagers. Now, most people know that we use mine carts. You can use a number of different methods for your either levers to move them with the powered rails. You can use, of course, the redstone block. You can use a redstone torch, or you can use a lever to turn that off and on. The lever, of course, is probably the cheapest of the 3 choices there. One of the other methods is going to be by boat, and most people probably know about that as well. There's an annoying one where you might be over in the corner somewhere and that villager just will not get out of that corner, and you drop a bucket of water in there and lo and behold, he's now gone out of there, and then you can do whatever you need to do to finish up. But you do need to remember, the important thing is here, This needs to be if you're going to do like a fence or a wall, that you want to make sure that's high enough, because the first area of water, they can actually pop out and over the other side. Near the end of where the water stream is, no big deal. The other method that I'm going to show you now is going to be regarding the beds, which happens at night. So we'll switch to night. And you see they're going to lay down and sleep. Now with the unemployed villagers, they do tend to have a different work schedule as opposed to the villagers that are working, but they will eventually lay down and sleep. So if you're trying to move this villager, say you want to get him over here, it's nighttime's the best time to move him, because now you can just break his bed, pick it up, set it over here, and he'll move right over there. And that will work up to 16 blocks away. So it's a great way to move these guys around, especially if you've got a trading hall and you're trying to organize things. If it happens at night, you can easily break the bed and then move that bed elsewhere. And then once he's in his cubicle or wherever you have him, once you have him in place, then you can break that bed and he'll just stay put. So let's go back to the other method I like to use. And that's okay, and the last method I wanted to show you was dealing with moving them with the workstations. Now, it's going to be difficult if he's just brand spanking new and just picks it up. So what you're going to need to do is go ahead and lock him in first, which leads us into another one, that once you trade these guys, they are stuck with the profession and those trades. You cannot untrade him. So once you do that one trade, then you are stuck with him. Well, taking a look at that, I've got Brown. I guess I could do that, but most people, I imagine, if you wanted, like me personally, I'm going to look for the trade that has at least the shears. There we go. So I can lock him in with just one trade. Now he is strictly a shepherd. So if I break his workstation, he's going to be looking for it. And if I need to move him over there somewhere, then I can easily just break his workstation. We'll break this stuff out of here. Set his workstation over here. He's going to try and reacquire another workstation. You'll notice by the green particles. There it is. Now I need to move him over here a little bit further. Remember, no more than 16 blocks away, and he'll keep going. It's right here. I'm standing right behind it. Oh, there's one way up in the tree. Well, he's taking his sweet time figuring that one out. So let's break it here and try again. There he goes. He acquired it. Let's see if we try it across this road here. See if he picks it up. He sure did. And as you can see, you just keep moving the workstation. If you have a couple of them, it's fine. If you have just one, but they'll reacquire that workstation to where you can get them where they need to go. That is more than likely the last resort, or if it's the beginning stages of the game where you don't happen to have the rails. A boat is much easier to use, but you really can't get them up and down the hills without the use of a piston, which of course takes even more resources. So if we've already traded with him, like I said, then he's going to stick with that profession, and he's going to be looking for that. In case you break it, he's going to be looking again to try and find the same type of workstation, and you'll see the green particles as he picks it up, and you just keep moving it a little further away, and he will then keep picking it up until you get him where he needs to go. So that's like an early stage one if you haven't got the rails and things like that. Okay, the next part we're going to go over is going to be accepting the workstation and also cycling through trades. Now, after I show you this, it'll work the same for both Bedrock and Java. But on the Java side of things, if a villager cannot pathfind to it, they will not accept the workstation. As you can see here, he's the only one on Java that can accept that workstation. None of the other guys can reach it, so they won't accept it. But on Bedrock, it's a little bit different. So we are going to go over to Bedrock, and I'll show you how that works on Bedrock right after we go through the cycling process. Now, the most common one that people cycle through are going to be the librarians. Once he's picked that up, we're going to take a look and see what he has to offer. Now, if you just wanted paper and bookshelf, that's fine. But me personally, I'm going to look for some good trade. So I'll sit down another workstation. He'll come over to accept it. We'll take a look and see what he's got. He's got Unbreaking 2. Well, we're looking for Unbreaking 3 because Unbreaking 3 is much better, and you don't want to combine those books. It'll just make things too expensive if you end up combining a whole bunch of them. But at any rate, you can cycle through till you find the exact trade that you're looking for, and that can work with just about anything. Let's take a look at the toolsmith, for example. Now, he's got tool trades. If you have an abundance of coal and you don't have an abundance of emeralds, then you can basically break that workstation and try and see if you can't get him to acquire one that has a coal trade. No, not yet. Let's see if he's got one now. Whoops. No, not yet. He's being a little stubborn guy. It's right there. Yeah, now we have a coal trade. But if you had a farmer, for example, another common one that we will cycle through, For me personally, I look for the carrot and potato trade, and if I don't get that, then I go ahead and break the workstation until I get that. Once I do get the carrot and potato trade, I will then trade him to lock him into the carrot and potato trade, and hoping that he'll have pumpkins and melons as well. But this also is not a bad trade if you're looking to do some breeding, where you've got carrots, which you can get tons of them with using a fortune pickaxe or a fortune axe. Don't use a fortune shovel, you'll dig up the dirt, but that you can trade them off to get the emeralds. You can also buy the bread to do more breeding. Now let's go take a look on the bedrock side of things and show how things work when it comes to accepting workstations. Now on the bedrock side, when it comes to accepting workstations and cycling is going to be pretty much the same. But as far as accepting workstations, if you notice here, all these guys have professions already, and that's usually the case when you go see a village. And you will be unable to change them until you drop a bed. Once you drop a bed, then these guys will start losing their profession. Once you set down new workstations for them, they'll then accept it. But how they accept workstations on Bedrock is totally different than Java. So for this, in the particular case, for Bedrock, what we will do is we're going to be looking for green particles. There is an order of things that Bedrock, how they accept their workstations. So out of these 6 villagers, one of them is going to be so-called the leader, if you want to call it that, and they will accept the workstation first. So when I set this down, we'll look for the green particles, and that villager is the one that will accept the workstation first. So it's set down, for example, we use a composter, look for the green particles. This villager right here will always accept it first. So now we'll come over and we'll set the workstation down. He'll reacquire that, and then we can go through and cycle through his trades to pick what we want. We're back to this, what we saw like earlier on Java, where he has the carrot and the bread trade, which is not bad. Like I said, in early game, if you're looking at doing a lot of breeding, this will save you a big hassle. Just grab some carrots, trade off for the emeralds, get some emeralds, and then buy the bread, and you continue your breeding. Now the next villager that will accept it, you have to do it the same way. Depending on the size of your breeding hall, it could take you a little while. But in this case, as you see, unlike Java, they cannot get out, and then Java requires that they pathfind to it, but not on Bedrock. So let's pick another workstation. We'll do a brewing stand and see who accepts it. There he is. You saw the green particles. He's a little upset that he can't get to it. We'll come over, we'll set that down. He will reacquire, and you just continue to repeat this process over and over again until you've gone through and set up everything. So of course you definitely want to make sure that you've got what villagers you need to have in there, the ones that you want, and get the workstations you want, and then just set the workstations down and you can cycle through them. Now if you want to try and set up an order, you'll have to wait. Like I said, at nighttime we can go back to earlier in this video and you can see how to move them at night by using beds. Now one of the things on Bedrock, if you remove this bed, let me show you what happens. You must have at least one bed in the area. Each villager does not need to have one, but you must have one in the area, because if you remove this bed, they are now lost. And if you've had the problem, like I've had a number of commenters mention that they have locked their trades and they're not restocking in the morning, or if you don't have a bed in the area, these guys will not restock their trades. So you want to make sure that you set that bed down. It doesn't matter who accepts the bed, they're not going to get to it, but at least now all the villagers will begin to work and they will go ahead and restock their trades. So if that's happened to you and you've watched and left me comments, there's the example for you. Make sure you got that bed in there anywhere near the villagers. Just one will do, and they'll continue to work on the Bedrock side. Okay, well that's about going to wrap it up for me. I did mention 6 things, but I think I threw in a couple more. Just remember that if you are going to cycle through these guys, or you're going to set down a workstation, make sure you do have those items to trade them on hand, because they may change and you may have to go back and cycle through all over again. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. I'll be glad to help you in your Minecraft world. I always answer my comments. If you like this video, click that like button. If you want to subscribe for past or future videos, click that subscribe button. It really helps me and lets me know I provide great quality content for you guys each and every week. Once again, I want to thank you very much for watching, guys. And until next week's video, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.